More tales from Twitter. Poverty. So I saw this tweet. The earth provides enough resources for every man, woman, and child to live comfortably. However, there are people in power that choose to hoard it all. Let us think about this statement. The earth provides enough resources for every man, woman, and child to live comfortably. This might have been true 50 years ago, and I'm thumb-sucking the number of years, but it certainly cannot in any way be true today. There are more than 7 billion people alive on this earth. I cannot see any way in which the earth, which is this weird amorphous concept in this quote, can provide what we as modern people need. One of the things we need is electricity. None of our systems can function without electricity. The earth can not possibly supply us with electricity. If you're talking about food and water, there were very few times in the past when the earth was able to supply every man, woman, and child alive with the resources that they needed. So that statement is blatantly and obviously inaccurate. The second part, that the wealthy hoards, or people in power hoards all these resources, is also demonstrably false. Now, while I identify as more socialist than capitalist, I cannot agree with that statement. It is one of the cardinal errors that we as humans make. We go into black and white thinking. And yes, I'm also referring to our skin color, but we also simplify and oversimplify by just juxtapositioning two ideas. So this quote, while it might have some truth, it is not an accurate quote. The response to this quote is, being poor is not a natural thing. It is humans' invention. Let us think about what is natural. And why is natural necessarily good? It is not natural to wear clothes. It is not natural to stare at screens. It's not natural to use vehicles to get around. It is not natural to live in brick houses. It is not natural to have access to antibiotics and medicines and hospitals. It is natural to live and to struggle and to die, probably at the hand of some other person or a wild animal or the weather. Therefore, it is correct to say that being poor is not natural, but that implies that being poor, or that what is natural is good. That is not true. The statement about being poor not being a natural thing, whatever that might mean, is followed by this gem. No, it is God's way of testing our faith. Therefore, all the poor people out there, remember, you are being tested, and according to the Bible, being tested by God is good. Therefore, following the logic, being poor is good because you are being tested by God when you are poor. Earth has provided abundantly. We've shown that that is not true, that maybe it was true in the time when we were still hunter-gatherers. It certainly is no longer true. Poverty is not because of absence, but because of greed. It's a result of Babylonian Roman scarcity miseducation. I'm really sorry that I have to say this, but scarcity is a real thing. It has nothing to do with miseducation. In fact, we are now living in a time where we have the least amount of scarcity than we've ever had in the past. Just 100 years ago, scarcity was much more real to many more millions of people. Just one comment about the Babylonian Roman concept. The Babylonian Empire and the Roman Empire were centuries apart. Yes, they must be connected in the carryover of cultural memes, but there's certainly no way that these two empires or civilizations can be conflated. What exactly does it mean to practice greed? Naming something like imperialism and privatization as one of the causes of poverty is oversimplifying a very complex issue. In the universe, everything comes in pairs. There is high and there is low. No, the universe does not give us everything in pairs. No. Some people are talented to amass wealth by using the resources around them, and while some can't. Hence, we having the rich versus poor. The premise here is that if you are poor, you don't have the talent to amass wealth by using the resources around you. I think we need to discuss what the resources are and what talent is. There are so many things implied in the statement. We have to discuss the real problem. We live in a complex society that is based on complexities of our past over thousands of years, not only the past 100 or 150. Everything that we see and experience today is because of something that happened in the past. It reminds me of the story as to why railway tracks are the width apart that they are. There's no supernatural or divine explanation for it. Railway tracks are simply the distance apart that they are because that was the distance that most carts' wheels were apart, and when they first invented the idea of railway tracks, they used the same carts that they had and they put those on tracks. That illustrates how our lives today are because of everything that happened in the past, over millions of years. If we don't acknowledge that, we cannot solve the problems that we face. That is why I'm doing this. We have to stop thinking and communicating in vague, non-descriptive labels, and especially ascribing some divine supernatural power to these labels. We have to learn to have better conversations that really address the issues. And the only way we can do that is if we stop mislabeling and misusing the labels that we have. We have to face the reality of our complex lives. That's the only solution. Poverty is a man-made construct, as is wealth. Neither poverty nor wealth are choices. The earth can only provide what modern humans need to survive and lead the type of lifestyle we've become accustomed to a limited extent. Earth doesn't provide. Our social structures are complex. There's empirical proof that we have become better in many ways than we were ever before. I'm referring to Steven Pinker and his book, Better Angels of Our Nature. The best we can do is to keep improving. Fiction is one way of telling stories. When we're not doing fiction, let's learn to tell better stories. Stories based on facts that are an accurate reflection of reality and takes into account all the complexities of where we are today.